This podcast is a production of Digital and Creative Media Works. To help support us, head to dcm.works to find links to our other show notes, Patreon, and merch. Hey guys, welcome back to the Arthritis Podcast, official podcast of Digital and Creative Media Works. My name is David DCM, creative director, lead writer, and I'm joined today by a very special co-host, James.
Hey, what's going on?
I said very special. In hindsight, you're on a lot of our shows. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
I gave you a lot of credit.
The sheen's wearing off a little bit,
Yeah.
I feel like.
You're no longer the new kid on the block.
I'm going to have to, just disappear for at least 12 months and then come back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's a good idea, actually.
With
Fade
a
out.
different haircut.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And then maybe change up, your fashion style a bit. So, maybe...
Nah, that's golden. We're going to keep
okay.
that.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll workshop this later.
Well,
Maybe off air.
you don't love Meryl Streep bleeding from the eyes?
It
Saying
doesn't...
streeping while you're sleeping? You don't love this?
It doesn't excite me like it used to. But
Very
what
Stranger Things.
I was going to say, but what does excite me like it used to is Stranger Things Season 2, because this week we are talking about the storytelling
So
of
smooth.
Stranger Things. It's you and Ben both do this thing where I'll try and make these segues happen, and you both
Stop doing these weird segues.
you both call me out on
They're
how
so
bad they
unnatural.
are, and I'm trying to get us to the thing, you know?
Maybe get better at segues.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I wrote a bunch of notes when I was watching the show, and I haven't looked at them since. And I read them this morning, and the first thing you said was, "I disagree with all of them."
Yeah.
So this is going to be interesting because
Large chunk of these.
I don't know how much I still agree with having watched the whole show, but one of the,
Flimsy opinions. This
Oof.
guy.
I mean, I'll back them up. Don't you worry. I'll
Okay.
I'll get in the corner if I need to.
Okay.
I just want to find out together if what we think of the show, because you're a big horror guy. That felt reductive. You're a horror dude, aren't you, James? Tell me more about that.
I like horror stuff, and I know a lot about horror films. A lot of useless information.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
That was a good summary, actually. And you've kind of played in the space of this 80s to 2000s horror genre stuff, which this is leaning on for some of the imagery and some of the tone and stuff. So what did you think of the show as a whole, particularly this season? And because we didn't talk about season 1 when it did happen, so I haven't really got your thoughts on it at any point.
I liked it. Imagine if that's where I ended.
Yeah.
I'm like, it was good.
It's and I'm just
Hey, Duffer Bros, great stuff.
it's I just pick up the phone and I'm like, Ben, I need you to come back.
No, I mean, yeah, it's just I don't really see the correlation to 80s horror films and stuff. It's just 80s.
Yeah, well, only in the
Just
sense
80s
that
inspired.
it leans on some of the imagery. You've got your kind of Orwellian, weird, vaginas and walls and stuff that was really popular when people were doing a lot of acid.
Was it?
I've been told. The historical
Okay,
record will
interesting.
reflect that.
A lot of HR guy got dicks hidden in the art stuff.
A lot of
kinda,
penises snuck their
He
way in.
Yeah, creeped a few of them in there.
It is interesting though how they took that time period and went, what if we just kind of give it a little bit of flavor, give it more flavor than maybe it needed in season 1, which is why it had that really iconic feeling to what it, he had the cool synths, and you had the way that they dressed and talked, and they nailed the time period by kind of turning it up to 11 in a lot of it, which I felt worked really well. But then season 2, I thought they kind of battled with the nostalgia a little bit less. They kind of put that on the back burner, focusing on the story instead, which I also liked. But I thought that some of that meant that, particularly toward the middle of the show, so when you've got the setup that something's coming, and it's kind of when Dart's introduced, I thought there was this weird middle area where they couldn't decide what the show was about. Was it about Will and this thing coming? Was it about the boys club and their struggles at school? What there was no real thrust in the middle. I felt it kind of, I don't know, to me it felt like it lost a bit of its track.
Yeah, but I don't feel like it needs a singular focus. It can just be this overarching world / narrative where there's a bunch of cool things happen. I mean, take Game of Thrones, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's not who am I following? It's all of them.
Right.
Everything.
You've got all your favorites in there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I thought that season 1 they did that really well with the parallel narratives, and you had I thought Jonathan's was maybe the most interesting, but not necessarily the strongest in season 1. And then, obviously in season 2, you had Hopper become much more of a force of protagonism throughout the show.
Mm-hmm.
He very quickly they take Steve and make him one of the most relatable and cool characters, which was, I thought, super important. because one of the things that season 1 lacked in a lot of ways was someone for the kids to look up to, you know, like someone who wasn't a sociopathic like science person, or B, someone that just didn't really believe the kids, or,
Right.
or C was Winona Ryder, who was really having a hard time of it. So I thought it was cool that they gave us this cool like badass like Steve, who's like a cool, nice older brother.
Sure,
you know,
but did they need that in the
no, but I thought it was nice that instead of letting Steve sit in the same place he was, they were like, okay, we're gonna give him room to move into like having his own arc.
he grew more as that
He
character.
actually
Yeah.
changed, and you went, oh, I actually get why in season 1, you know, people thought he was cool and relatable, and then in season 2 you go, oh, he's actually kind of cool and relatable. Like, this guy's awesome. He's not a total douchebag like we kind of thought he might have ended up being.
Yeah.
You know, because
And
obviously
we feel a little bit bad for him because like he likes that chick and she's off just boning down on some other
just
dude.
boning down on the J-Man. Jonathan, not
Classic.
Jesus. I should have said J-Man. No, I don't know. To me, there was this element of when you have that story running. So you've got Jonathan and I'm gonna forget her name. What's the girl's name that? Nancy. Yeah. So you've got Jonathan and Nancy's arc where they kind of are going to take down. They're trying to take down the lab. Kind of that's their mission, I guess.
Right.
Versus Steve, who kind of is helping the kids and is sort of playing the role that Jonathan was in season 1. I thought that was a nice like parallel there, because you feel like, you know, in season 1 in particular, and I don't know if you felt this in this season, but in season 1, it was kind of weird that at the end when Jonathan helped when, you know, they're in the house and Steve helps them fight the creature off.
Yeah.
It's weird that they're not super cool with Steve. Like, it's a weird like ending to that relationship between the three of them. Then we pick it up in season 2 and they've kind of just moved the characters apart. I thought it was nice that in this one they just kind of went, no, these are kids, like they just get over shit.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You know, the kids can still talk to Steve. They're not like, you bloody dated my sister and I don't want to have anything to do with it. It's like,
right.
No, kids get over that shit pretty quick.
It did get kind of, yeah, at the end of that season 1, you're kind of like, oh, okay. All right, then.
I guess how are they going to hang out on the playground because of this weird dynamic now? You know. And then they were together, which I just, like, it was just odd. It was all very weird. Like,
yeah.
But that'll happen when, you know, you get these forces of crazy monsters and shit coming into your life. Things are going to get stranger, you could say.
No, we could not
didn't,
say that.
Didn't like that one. Okay, so with season 2, no, well, I just wanted to brush that
Let's
under
flip
the
that
rug.
one upside down. The upside down.
I see.
Into a better thing.
That was not... I think that you
So
made
I'm just
it...
taking from your segues that you do.
Drawing on the inspiration.
Yeah.
You've actually made it worse, and you've actually kind of carved out some flaws in my methods, and I'm feeling a little attacked, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. It's good that you can see the flaws in it now, though. That's good.
I mean, I'm not sure that that's true. So, season 1, the show as a whole uses Dungeons and Dragons, so like tabletop role-playing games, to frame and help gather some of the chaos into like a usable thing.
Which I love that, because I don't think that everything needs to be, you know, explicit. Like, not everything needs to be covered and explained to you in like such exact detail that you're like, this means this, and this is this thing, and this is exactly how this happened.
It would also ruin some of the mystery and like the excitement of like, particularly because you've got these things that like they don't really have rhyme or reason. If one of the characters was to be like, well, you know, these demogorgons, when there's blood, they hunt down the blood and then they'll kill you. That's that's way less interesting than you know how kids would interpret and manage this kind of trauma and this stress, which is they create the analog of, you know, these Dungeons and Dragons monsters.
Yeah,
which is
they take something that they understand to explain it.
Exactly.
To understand it.
Which is like what kids do in situations where they don't have anything that they can use.
Yeah, exactly.
And that feels so authentic in a way that not to say that other shows don't manage it well, but I think the treatment of kids in that way in this show is why I think it lands so nicely for adults. It's the nostalgia of being a kid and being like, oh, I don't understand this. How am I going to interpret it?
Right.
You know, and you layer that on top of the 80s nostalgia and all these other elements, and it's like, what?
I was just thinking back to like how I would relate it to my childhood and like the games that I would play. And I'm like, oh, how do these demons relate to FIFA 95 on Sega?
How do I... Oh, boy. trying to date this girl. How does that relate to?
This is exactly like Time Crisis on the PS1.
This is just like that time when Master Chief did it.
My god, this is a classic Bubsy 3D World situation.
Mario 64, he would have jumped over that Goomba. But it's nice that, and I played D&D as a kid. I was that fucking kid, and I just thought it was really cool that they're trying to make, they're making these things that these kids think are cool. They're going, hey, this is actually like an avenue for us to explore these darker, more complex sides of things, right? Like these kids don't necessarily directly address the trauma either.
Right.
Because it's really, that would be like a hard thing to do. Like even when Will comes back, no one really, they try and, like, they don't really talk about it. Like it's kind of like a little bit taboo even within the group.
Yeah. Which I kind of thought at like the beginning of season 2, everyone was just sort of like, oh, back to business as usual.
Right.
And I was like, how is everyone not talking about this at all times?
Right.
Hey, I'm just doing the dishes. Oh, fuck. You remember when a demon from an upside down universe was in here?
Right. Though the only character that truly like does that is Nancy, who fucking like freaks out. I'm assuming what we don't see of the show is all of these characters constantly going into bathrooms and crying a lot. Because I feel like that's
a lot of like therapy trips.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's off camera.
Well, they take Will to the lab with the new guy who's in charge of it, who actually seems like he's trying to help, which I thought was nice. Like he wasn't like a psychopath.
Which I thought, like, while I was watching it, I was like, this guy's fucking up to something.
I was like, he's bloody,
But then he brought it around at the end. But
yeah,
I don't know.
He really earned his place as a character that felt like he was trying to do the right thing, even if he was doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Whereas Hopper was like a guy who kind of just wanted to do the right thing, but was a real bad guy at doing a lot of stuff. Like he struggled with the same kind of parenting issues we all do, except, Eleven's telepathic, so that kind of threw a spanner in the works. But even a lot of the time he didn't he dealt with situations like normal people do who are dads. Like, he yelled at her. He yells at her at one point through the door.
Right.
And you're like, oh, but don't, come on, dog. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's just going to push her further away. And you can see him doing it and being like, oh, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
But being unable to stop him, because it's like, there's so many real moments in this that I'm like, that's so relatable. And like, they've nailed that setting.
Right.
In that way.
Yeah.
And these characters feel very like 3D. Hopper's not like the good protagonist who's just like, yes, well, I'm good and I'm trying to save the kids, and also I'm a good dad. It's like, no, he's still just a dude.
Yeah.
He's got a dad bod. He drinks beer every night. Like, he's just a dude.
He emotionally manipulates, children.
Yeah, he's
all those classic things.
All that kind of keeps a prisoner.
Yeah.
But then it's like,
where he's like sitting on the couch and he's like, oh, if you don't come out here and eat it, I'm gonna eat them all and I'm gonna get fat. You're gonna have to come out here and eat some candy with me.
Make my dad bod worse. I will say though, and
he'd pull it off.
What's nice in cinema is we finally have a straight white male who looks relatable. Isn't what we got in Hoffa. That was a comment that someone actually tweeted when I was reading through some of the Stranger Things Twitter. Someone was excited that there was a straight white male on TV they could relate to, and I just was like, huh, that's where we've reached, huh? Okay.
What, that he's shitty?
Or that he just like looks like a normal dude and he's kind of shitty, and I guess they
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But whoever's tweeting that is kind of saying more about themselves.
It's saying a lot about whoever's tweeting that.
It's like, oh, really? Okay.
Interesting. Not the entire history.
Piece of shit. Okay, yeah.
The entire history of cinema wasn't enough for you. You needed this one specifically as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But no, it's nice to me that those moments where you've got the roles being changed. So season 1, the guy who runs the lab is like a fucking psychopath.
Brenner.
Yeah, Brenner.
Yeah.
And did he die? I can't remember how in season 1 did he die? I can't remember.
He was attacked by, so he was with like 2 army dudes, and I think they were at the school or maybe they were at the lab. I'm not sure, but the Demogorgon killed the guards, and then you saw it pounce on him.
But you don't know if he's a dead one.
But in episode 7, when they go to kill that dude who used to work there, who used to work at the lab, he said, "Oh, I'll take you to Brenner."
Right.
And he's like, nah, he's still alive. So
yeah, so he
could have just been lying. I don't know.
Or he's still kicking around.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, did you think that they gave 11 enough to do throughout that whole like
episode set, the Lost Sister?
Yeah,
episode?
like I don't want to call it like Evil 11 arc or whatever it is, but like that whole sequence. Did you like that? Did you think it was weird that
I thought it was a blemish on an otherwise great series?
Why? Because
the whole episode felt like the Duffer Brothers were trying to show Netflix that they can do a spin-off series. And it's like, I don't give a shit. I don't give who the fuck are these? I don't give a shit about
Just
these
record
people.
a pilot. That's what everyone else does, guys.
It was so, it's just nothing. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
Interesting.
It didn't do anything for me. I don't think it helped the overarching story at all. At least in this season. Like
Yeah.
maybe like later
It'll come
on
to fruition.
they'll like bring that whole group more into the story, which I pray to God they don't.
And
Just make that its own thing, so I don't watch it,
Right.
and then that'll be good.
And there was such caricatures of people.
I know,
like
yeah.
that was the thing, right? If they just been like normal street, like if they just been normal fucking criminals, but one of them had like psychic powers, I'd be like, cool. But one of them
Right.
has a crazy mohawk, and the other one,
Yeah, and it has to be
the other one's the guy from Borderlands with the beard. Like
That's
it's
such a good point, actually. They all were caricatures.
which is frustrating
Yeah.
because the show has done such a good job of not doing that.
Yeah.
Like, not doing that. They even fucking Billy, the most evil fucking character in this season, is like abused by his fucking it's horrific abuse, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, hurt people hurt.
Man,
that makes sense.
That was so good, hey.
That was so fucking.
Yeah, they did that really
so
well.
They the treatment of that was so smart.
Exactly. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you go.
That's
Of
why
course,
he's a total
of
piece
course
of
he's
shit.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And I thought what was cool is that he didn't get redemption. They were like this guy, like he doesn't get to fix what he's done. We just got to live with this for right
Which
now.
kind of makes it like more real, because it's like, yeah, like shitty things happen and sometimes it doesn't pan out.
It doesn't get resolved.
Yeah.
And that's a nice dovetail on this world where, these kids and these people can solve these world altering problems, or these kind of life threatening situations. But sometimes like shit just still happens though. And you look at, Max as a character and the way that she interacts with Billy and the other kids and stuff. And it's interesting to me that there's like, at some point they're going to have to address the fact that like, she'll have like, what's her response been to the trauma of the home life, and is she being abused as well? Like, I'm curious to see if in the next season they deal with any of that at all, because I'd be interested to see the
I would say, just from what I gathered,
Mhm.
I would assume she doesn't get abused. And that's another reason why Billy is like so fucked off at her all the time.
right, because he's
Because
shitty
he
that
cops
he
the
get
brunt of it all the time, and he's responsible for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah.
yeah, that would make sense. I'm just curious. Yeah, I don't know. That's just such an interesting dynamic that they've created in such a realistic
But
way.
you take something like that was so well done, explained this entire character in this small scene.
In, like, a minute and a half.
Exactly.
Such good
And it was
introduction.
so well done. And then you have the Lost Sister episode, which is like, what the fuck is this even doing?
It was like an
here?
episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, everyone was a caricature and they were going out. The one thing I did like was the implication that perhaps 11, like, these powers that she's got, perhaps they can be extended in some way. Because one of my biggest frustrations with season 1 is you have to take this character who's incredibly powerful, but she's young and she doesn't really know how to like focus and control these powers she's got, and the trauma she suffered has made that difficult. What they wanted to do is be like, okay, how do we reasonably get her to a point where she can be a real force, like of nature, with her powers?
Yeah.
So that in season 3, when this giant whatever is comes,
The Mind Flayer.
yeah, she may be able to like be in combat with it or do something, right? Because in
Right.
season 1, she just kind of picked up a Millennium Falcon and then disappeared, like shredded a guy with got shredded with her mind or whatever.
Right.
Held the thing against the wall, which was like cool and impressive, but how do you then translate that into escalating stakes if there's a thing taking over the world, right? Unless you do like the Death Star style solution, which is go in the thing and shoot the one hole, it blows it up, whatever.
Yeah.
Which I feel like they probably won't do.
Right.
Well, maybe they probably will.
Don't touch the death button.
Don't press the.
Yeah.
Don't go into the upside down. Find the brain that connects to the network and destroy it. That's
Yeah.
probably where they're going. But to bring 11 as like this force of like actual like damage, it's kind of cool, because then you've got like a 12-year-old who's like a literal like trauma victim with these crazy fucking powers, and you see that with David Harbour's character with Hopper. There's such potential for her to just like go off the chain.
Yeah.
Which I love that they put her on that cliff edge and been like, she might get you.
She might just Jean Grey it
Yeah.
right now.
She,
She'll go
oh yeah,
Phoenix on
she might
all
go
you
Dark
fuckers.
Phoenix.
Yeah,
Oh, dog, that'd be great.
that'd be pretty cool.
Season 3 arc for her, like go total psycho.
She just goes mental. Yeah,
I would love that. Again though, they would make her a caricature, so it's like it's the balancing act, right? Did you feel like with the Duffer Brothers? I thought they do a good job of capturing what it's like to be young and in school, like as a kid. I don't know how, but they kind of nail that feeling of being in school. And I guess in the 80s, but to an extent, like there's analogs for how you would do it now. Obviously, like with cell phones and stuff, kids are like much more switched on and tuned into like society and all that sort of stuff. So there's less
it's like way easier to like bully and harass constantly.
So much easier.
Yeah,
because it's like it's everywhere all the time because it's in your pocket.
Yeah.
So it's
I
not
grew up
just,
with like MSN, and it's like that was enough. You know
that
what
was
I mean?
that was a lot
Now
as
imagine
well.
being connected across to all of your classmates across all platforms at all
Everywhere.
time. Woo! That's shitty.
And what's worse, I think, is I don't want to like do a commentary on society, but
Yeah.
what's worse is that like they're all performing for each other at the same time as they're all bullying and harassing each other. So it's this fucking like incest of performer and audience like interaction, and it's just like I would be fucked if I grew up like, you know, if I was in like grade 3 or 4 now, I would be totally fucking ruined because there is no way that you could like survive that and be a sane person.
Yeah.
Like, and have empathy and like be actionable on things that you want to change about yourself.
And there's only no, that's not true actually. There's one way you can duck that whole thing.
Tell me,
You just got to be the cool kid who
Ah,
doesn't
you-
even fuck with social media.
you got to be the
You
off
gotta
the
be-
grid kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
Go off the grid, kids.
Get off the grid.
Get off the grid. They can't harass you.
Hashtag
You know
off
why?
the grid.
They're harassing on the grid. Where
They're
are
on-
you? Not on it.
Not on it. What's interesting though is if you think about the way that that was very good though. What's cool to me is that whole concept of like now bullying is online. You take it back in this show and it's like the physical like element of bullying and like the way that Billy talks to Max and all of those things. He's so indirect with a lot of it. You know, like it's hard to tell if his dislike for the kids is like a race thing or because he does pick.
That's a good point, actually.
It's-
That whole with him being like weird about Lucas.
It's interesting. Like, but it's like, is it just because he doesn't want Max to have friends, or is it a race thing, or is it a nerd thing? And
Is it like a controlling thing?
the genius of not addressing that means that what you end up with is a bully who feels realistic because, like, probably if he's just being abused and that's why he's hurting other people,
Yeah.
he's not going to be walking around dropping N-bombs. Like, you know, he's going to be doing things like that where he's like, don't hang out with these kids. Like, it's bad for you. Like, it's that kind of same thing that his trauma inflictors are doing to him, where it's like that
Right.
manipulation. It's the same
Okay.
thing. So it would be weird if he was like, well, you're, you know, dropping the M word or being like, don't hang out with him, he's black kind of thing. Instead,
Right.
it's like, well, they're bad for you. I know what's best for you, and you're going to get me in trouble, so just do what I tell you kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I think is different. Like, that way it's not... I don't know. I assumed it wasn't a race thing, but I'm curious if that gets touched on at any point, or if it's just too complicated to try and unpack in a show like
Plus,
this.
plus, it's also kind of interesting to not, you know, explicitly say what it is, because bullying isn't always black and white.
Mhm.
You know, it's not like, oh yeah, I tripped him over one time and like that he beats me up every day.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know why this dude fucking hates
Yeah,
me.
he just hates me.
and he just is going out of his way
yeah.
to fuck with
Absolutely.
me. Yeah.
And that is how bullies are, because you don't know. Like, it could be literally nothing. You just could be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah. They
Or
could hate your face.
yeah, or they just decide that you're the one they need to pick on to make themselves feel better. Like,
Yeah.
there's often no rhyme or reason to it.
Mm.
And to me, that again is just a testament to like why the show works really well. Is just that people react like people. I talked about this before. Actually, this was one of Ben's things that he brought up with Batman v Superman. One of the biggest flaws of that film, aside from a whole bunch of the Zack Snyderisms,
Other than all of it.
yeah, is that people don't really react like people to anything ever. So, you know,
Okay. Yeah.
a good example, the easiest example is Clark Kent he's at his job at the Daily Planet, and his boss says, write this article about sport, and he doesn't do it. And his boss goes, I told you to do the thing about sport. And then that's the end of the conversation. Whereas, like, in real life, that would...
Just like the real
Yeah,
world.
whereas it's like, even Clark doesn't even, like, defend... Like, there's no real reaction from him. And then, you know, you go later in the film and you have Bruce Wayne and Alfred having an exchange about, you know, we've got to take down the Superman guy. He's really dangerous. But Alfred doesn't react like a person would. He just kind of goes, you're too old for this, mate. You gotta relax. Instead of being like, huh, that's kind of an interesting point. Maybe we should discuss this a bit more. He just kind of does a kind of a weird deadpan quip, and then that's it. Whereas this, everyone reacts like people to everything all the time, even in situations where you're like, man, it would be great if they didn't. You know, you've got one of my favorite goddamn sequences, which is where Steve becomes like the fucking badass older brother with the baseball bat and the dope hair and the great coat. And it's
oddly
him
specific.
He's very
those last two very
he's
oddly
very
specific.
cool. I dig his look. And I think he's got very, very good hair.
There is going to be use this right now as a baseline to view David's appearance, because gradually you'll see
shift.
you'll be able to take screenshots from each video from now on and see his hair grow out.
I'm gonna add another
into
element.
a coif,
Yeah.
and then also a jacket slowly appearing
Yeah.
for some reason.
It's gonna be one thing each week.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the year, I'll be dressed as Steve from Stranger Things in my everyday life, which I think is a very cool, very good look. But there's a great moment where it's when he and is it Dustin, the kid with the teeth?
Yeah, that's Dustin. Yeah.
Dustin and him, they're walking down the train tracks, and they have like this really this moment of, they have an exchange about girls that could have been sexist in any other show, like where, you know, Steve could have been like, you know, you bloody girls, mate, you know, they bloody like it when you treat them mean, mate. But he's more like, listen, it's not, I just do these things and it kind of works for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
It works for him though because he's attractive.
He's very good looking.
Yeah, and like he's the bad boy.
Yeah, and
You can't be a Dustin and pull that off,
Right.
Which they explore.
They
get to
do.
see firsthand.
I'm so excited to see how they treat that in the next season, because what's going to happen is hopefully they'll let Dustin do that for a while and explore the implications of what happens when you're one of us and you do it, which is it goes very badly. You know, if you're not incredibly attractive, you can't treat people poorly because they don't let you get away with literally anything.
Right.
Which I would love for them to actually like dive into a bit more. Because even with Billy, like they play him off as being like pretty attractive. Like he's like a real bad boy, but he's also a bad bloke. But
I get a very like Lost Boys vibe.
Oh,
very
yeah,
Kiefer Sutherland, Lost Boys
very
vibe.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
Also very The Outsiders, the famous Australian book that everyone has fucking read because it was part of like the coursework at school. But
Never read it.
no, it was probably before your time. After your time. I knew what I meant.
Before your time.
Before your time, kid.
I'm older than you are.
Yeah,
before your time.
I meant the other way
Before
around.
all of our times.
The other way around. No, but it's very much got that vibe of being like, he looks like a guy who would just like fucking pull a knife on you for no reason.
Right.
Which, did they do that in this, or am I thinking of It? Does he pull a knife on someone? I think I might be thinking of It.
Oh, does he pull a knife on someone?
Because I
don't know.
I don't think he does.
We'll Photoshop in a picture of him holding a knife.
I can make that happen.
He did do it.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, actually.
There you go.
That's pretty minimal Photoshop.
Yeah.
No, so to me, like, that element of adding him as, like, the attractive bad boy, he's a really good foil for Steve, because I think there's a temptation there where they could have done what most shows would do, is go, okay, well, we need to redeem Steve. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Steve become a really good guy, and he's going to treat people right, because he's going to learn his lesson from last season. He loses Nancy, and he's a reformed dude. It's like, no. Here's a worse guy, and Steve's just pretty, you know, Steve's a bit of a better dude, but he hasn't really changed that much.
Yeah, he was like big piece of shit in that first season.
Oh,
huh?
big piece of shit.
Yeah. Although kind of. It was kind of like hit and miss there.
It was, yeah.
His friend was like a massive dick as well.
But so was Nancy, was kind of a piece of shit to him in this season, though, I'll say.
Yeah, she was.
And I was like, yeah, because that's, people do that, where they're like just dicks for no, and you're like, oh, I get, okay,
Yeah.
sure, I guess. Like, fine, you can just be, like, they have that exchange where he's playing basketball or whatever, and they go outside to talk, and she's just a real douchebag. And I'm like, yeah, kids are awful, aren't they? People are terrible. Like, she's real mean to him. And then to make it worse, she then sort of, the thing with Jonathan, which again, he did stalk her in season 1, so I'm not sure how comfortable I am with all of that.
Yeah,
It's
it's kind of breezed over that one a little bit. Huh?
They kind of
Yeah.
didn't really ever address that.
Didn't really want to touch on that too much.
Yeah, and then you've got
Oh, how did you guys meet? Oh, well, I was watching it from the bushes initially.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of voyeurism. It's fine.
no men in this season. No male children in this season are like fine. Like a lot of them just have
Right.
like they're a little bit 80s sexist, which is like yeah, of course.
Also, the fact that like was one. I don't know if it was intentional. If they for them to explore the whole sometimes adults give you advice and it's not good advice. Like Steve telling him to be like, oh yeah, just treat her like shit and like ignore her and stuff. And then you have Bob being like, yeah, just, I sent face your fears. Tell her to go away.
Bob, can we talk about Bob though? Because he's
Can we talk about Bob? Bob is the greatest fucking person in this whole
my
show.
God. Holy
I
shit.
love Bob.
Best fucking role model I think that you could put in a show like this.
Love him.
And like I was gonna do like a rant about how great he is. But why don't you tell me how much you like him?
Rest in peace, Bob.
And
Rest in peace.
What was it that you liked aside from the fact that he was played by Samwise Gamgee?
Well, other than the fact that it was Sean Astin, no, just he was so kind and genuine, and he didn't, you know what I mean? There was no like ulterior motives. He was just this really genuine guy who just he just cared for everyone and he gave a shit. And just so many aspirational qualities in this one character.
Right.
He was so great.
I think that's an important point though, right? In a time when every fucking like blockbuster thing is full of Tony Stark type people quipping and being cynical, and like it's
That's an
refreshing
interesting point. Yeah.
refreshing to see this like earnest character who just really like likes Joyce and really wants to help. And it's not like a malicious guilt thing. He just really wants them to be happy.
Yeah.
And he trusts her when she's like, I just need you to do this. He's like, all
Oh,
right.
I know, yeah.
Okay, like, I guess. Like, I love you, so this is what people do.
Yeah.
Not, oh, here's a quip and bloody tell me what it is, or I'm not going to help you. It's none of that. He just does it. And it's like, and I love the fact that they give him, he goes down the road of the heroic sacrifice, but they don't do it because he makes it out of the heroic sacrifice and then just gets got. So it's not like this classic cliche, it's so good. And it's so nice that they put a fucking character in a piece of media who just gives so many shits, because I'm tired of watching a sad Superman and a fucking 25 Tony Starks wearing different colored outfits in Marvel films.
Yeah.
Like, it's just fucking refreshing for a guy to come in and be like, I care about these people. I love this kid. And I love this person.
The way that they did it, it wasn't this like cliche. It wasn't silly. It wasn't even pathetic. It was just, he was just a genuinely kind, wholesome dude.
Yeah. And man.
And he just loved by everyone. Twitter, because I was watching it like the weekend that it came out, Twitter was fucking blowing up with people being like, how are you going to do Bob like that? They did Bob dirty.
They did Bob dirty. But you know what? Man, it would be hard to keep him around again because he's such a good character. You would just want to see him on screen all the time, every episode. You'd be like, I don't want to just put him in every scene.
Yeah.
Put him on the bus with 11.
I'm very much looking forward to the Bob-only spin-off series.
It's not even Stranger. It's just about Bob's life.
Just Bob.
Just Bob. I gotta say, though, he did that
Working
one thing.
at the tech store. Just Bob.
Just Bob.
Love it.
Going home, doing puzzles, It's doing like a 5,000-piece puzzle set. I gotta say, one thing that I thought was interesting they touched on, without making it like a, I don't know, there was an opportunity for them to ruin it, which is where you have Joyce and Bob. I think they're having lunch or something, I think they're getting lunch, and they're having a conversation about like Bob is just really glad that like they're together because he really likes her, and it's really nice and wholesome. And there's a moment where he says something about like, high school was really hard for him. He got bullied a lot, and like he just really wants to help support Will because he knows that it's really hard when you're in that situation. And like he goes, as hard as it was for me, look at me now. I'm dating Joyce Byers, kind of thing. And it was just a really nice moment. But there was like this almost I was like braced, ready for them to ruin it by him being like, fuck, the guy who got out of high school is a real douche. But they didn't go down that route.
Yeah.
Of like the spiteful nerd. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yes.
Because they could have.
They could have done it, and they didn't.
Nice.
They didn't tarnish Bob.
Oh, Bob is so wholesome. Do you think they used Mike enough in this season? what, because he kind of stepped away from the being the kind of main spotlight protagonist in the season a little bit. He was sort of more of a supporting.
I mean, he had his time in season 1.
Yeah,
he
that's
was
true.
really he was the leader in season 1, so
Mhm.
it was kind of. I honestly didn't miss him.
Yeah,
Didn't miss Mike at all.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean it. Just with all of the other characters that they were exploring and everything that was going on. Yeah,
he's
I
like,
think Mike was kind of like, let's be honest, bit of a whiny cunt in this season, a little bit.
he did a lot of wins.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, 11's not. It's like, yeah, dog.
It's like, we know, dog.
Jesus.
But it's like also your friend did get got by terrible,
Yeah, and
horrible
you seem
aliens.
to be a little less cut up about that, and more so hung up on this.
You can't.
It's like I get
you
it, you
can't-
love her and stuff,
But you want to kiss on her. It's like you're not really upset that she's
Yeah.
dead. You know. Which this might be like a good like tie-in to wrap this whole thing in a neat little package. The introduction of Max as a character, I thought it was great. She's one of my favorite characters, just because I know so many people like that who are just like they don't really they kind of skate around, they don't really give a shit, but they
great
also
at video games.
they love
always getting
arcades.
the high scores.
Yeah, and they just really love science, which I thought was like really cool. She was like also a bit complex and interesting, which was nice. One of the things that was that I wrote down that I'm not sure if I agree with, but I wrote it at the time because there was a scene where it was actually just after Mike like has his hissy fit where he's like, she's not in the group, he's like, she's not in the party. What do you guys? That's not how it goes. Like 11, she's coming back, mate. Don't you worry about that. And then he storms off, whatever. And it wasn't until after the scene where they're in the Mike and Max are in the gymnasium.
Right.
And they have that really like genuine exchange where she's like, "Why do you hate me? What the fuck, dude?" And he's like, "It's complicated. I can't tell you." She's like, "No, really. What? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm just trying to be part of the group, and you're being a real dick." And they kind of get along, and they have like a, you know, they endear themselves to each other in a nice way. And I was ready before that to be like, it's weirdly sexist that Mike thinks that they can only have one girl in the group. But after that, I was like, oh no, he just went through a horrific trauma where, you know, the girl that he was friends with got murderized by horrible demon creatures, and he's maybe a little bit
and you
upset
can
about
kinda,
that.
Yeah, you can see like he's like, if I can't have 11, then no one gets to have any ladies in the group.
Right, which this was something that I really like, is that, and I think it was on Harmontown, I can't remember, but this idea that now when, you know, you're talking about this progressive way of thinking, it's harder for a lot of people that grew up with that. So that ability to react to being like, in this case, most people don't have their potential girlfriend murdered, but like, you know, with the rejection cycle where it's like you get broken up with someone that you really had an affection for, you no longer react with like, oh, what a bitch, like all these, you know, these sexist. You can kind of delve into this, that people used to delve into this realm of sexism, which was a good shield against that. And this show did a good job of saying, like, exploring, well, how do you like get around, like, how do you work through that to actually become useful to society again, instead of just like sitting in that well of being like, women are bitches and they're all the worst. Like, I don't know, I just like that they actually dealt with that,
Right?
because that's something that we don't necessarily get talked to about enough in media, particularly because this is a show targeted at millennials who are kind of in between the two groups, where it's like the older kind of generation above who still have elements of that ability to react to stuff with sexism, versus like the kids now who just don't give a shit about anything because they've grown up with this, I don't know, they're cool with everyone.
Yeah.
But they bully each other all the time. It's not like about your sex or your race or your gender. It's just, you can be mean to anyone all the time because you got a smartphone, you know? But I don't know, I like
Very
that
negative way of looking at things.
I'm just stressed about the future, man.
Jesus.
Yeah. No, but you know, do you know what I mean about that idea of like, yeah, they dealt with that, retreating into that well of sexism, I thought, pretty well.
I mean, I just saw it as, you know, he was pissy that he couldn't have his lady friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's true. He was just a little bit stroppy that she got murdered in front of him, which again,
That's gonna happen. You're gonna get pissed about that.
Listen, when she's got psionic powers and there's demons coming out of vaginas, it's gonna happen.
Hey, predictions for season 3.
Okay. Well, okay. Do we do predictions or things we just want to see? Because mine kind of, they're different Venn diagrams.
Well, you can slot them in there because one, I think Hopper got sprayed in the face by that like butthole looking thing.
Bad
in the
stuff
vines.
coming.
And in season 1, there was the tree that had like the pipe down Will's throat, and then later he coughs up a slug, which was like maybe Dart. But now you've got Hopper, because there was a scene where he's like in a locker room later and he's coughing and he like doesn't look okay.
He doesn't look well.
So I'm thinking maybe he's got some Demodog babies in him.
Something coming. You know what I want to see is not more Demogorgon dogs. I want to see something different, because they did the aliens solution to the problem of how do we escalate stakes by being like, what's scarier than one alien? 50. Like, yeah, but maybe just
But what's scarier than 50 aliens?
big
One the size of a
big smoke
building.
Big smoke man. Like, it's just, I wanted them to maybe, I don't know, give us something a little different. That was the only disappointment, was I was like, they didn't really like advance the kind of because they could have done like so many other things that weren't just more dogs. I don't know.
Yeah, but then it would have gotten into like this stupid fucking territory of like, the Demobats, they're in the sky
Right, and then
again.
it's like a fucking
Yeah.
it's like Contra where there's like 50 different types of baddies.
I think that the thing that like came out of Will,
Mm-hmm.
that's just out in the world now.
Oh, it's just banging about.
So that thing's probably going to come back.
Maybe that's what the spin-off series will fight.
I hope there isn't a spin-off series. I hope there isn't.
Okay,
You
so
know they're going to do it.
it's gonna-
because they introduced them at the beginning of this season, and then they did a whole fucking episode about them. There's no way that we like don't see that whole group ever again.
you know what they should have done? Fuck, I'm just thinking about this now. Is that should have been like a stinger after the show was over. Was you get to see this, like, instead of starting the show with it, just put that at the fucking end, so we go, oh, this world is bigger than we thought, and never address it again. That would have been fine. No, like that would have been fine, because then
Let the fan theories run wild.
Well, because then it gauges the interest in that spin-off without having to like jam it into a whole fucking episode. I don't know.
Yeah.
They just could have, or just done it at the start and fucking walked away from it and been like, yeah, dog, there were more. She was the 11th, remember? Because that was what they were trying to say, right? They were like,
yeah.
guys, 11. There's more of them. Which I'm like, cool. But don't, fuck that. Yeah. Anyway, no, what I want to see, it's just I had like a moment where my brain
It's
was,
also, you can't just skip that episode because it's got some important shit in it.
and like you learn a lot about like 11, and it's just,
Yeah.
it's frustrating.
It's just bad.
Why didn't they just have 11 go and do that on her own? Like, just go on a go-kart, try and kill the... anyway, but it's so frustrating. So I want to see 11 confront her father in some way. I don't want her to, like, kill him, but I want it...
Brenner?
Yeah, well, because he's still
Is
out
Brenner
there.
a dad? He's just the scientist.
I thought he was...
She calls him Papa.
Well, wasn't... Yeah, well,
That's
I was...
if he's still alive. He probably
Well,
is.
I'm pretty sure that he is her dad because because when she visits her mother, she learns that he took her away when she was born because Brenner was part. Oh, maybe not though, because maybe Brenner was just the guy from the. Okay, yeah, no, I got confused.
I've heard some theories that Mama isn't her mum.
Huh, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
I might like that actually. I don't know. I thought the mother stuff was interesting, but maybe a little unnecessary because we already had Hopper as the dad. So I don't know. It felt like they were trying to peddle too much, like tread water a little too much with 11 to find out how they could get Brenner back into the show.
But mainly it was really to plant that seed for the blatant spin-off series. I pray to God it's a spin-off and it's not just part of the next season.
Is there a reason why she can't do her closing eyes thing, the TV static, and find Brenner? Because that would just be like an easy, that would have solved all that.
Yeah.
It's
Maybe she
also-
could build a big dome and then she goes into it.
Yeah, it's sort
And
of
then
white on the inside, maybe.
It's with
a chair,
and a little hat.
and the hat has an X on it, on top of it. Maybe
And maybe she can just think real hard and find him.
she might have to shave her head though again to use
She
it.
can maybe smell one of his shirts or something.
Yeah. Well, she has to get something like that.
Yeah.
Sort of a psychic sniffer dog situation.
Mhm.
No, I'm just curious, like, what the limits of that power are. Is it just because she has like a strong affection for Mike that she can find him? Why isn't she using that power all the fucking time to solve problems? Again, I know that like that's a question that.
Well, I
would be
mean, her powers are growing. They're getting
Right.
They're getting bigger. They're getting stronger.
No, I understand
I don't
that.
think we've seen like the full. Full
whack of them.
Yeah, we
No,
haven't seen
that's
the full.
that's
whack of
fair. What I'm saying is maybe in season 3, I'd like to see them maybe address what the issue there is, because there must be a reason that she's not doing it all the time. And is it because it's making her tired? Because she fucking moved a train? I don't know. I'm just.
When's that going to take its toll? Actually, because every time she does something, blood comes out of her
I'm
nose.
guessing it's going to be a situation where there's some like serious long-term health ramifications
Yeah.
that really fuck her up. like she's gonna have like a brain hemorrhage or something. Like it's just she'll just drop dead one day. Or maybe it's the more you do it, like
That could be pretty cool, actually. Like in a scene where like she's fighting off like some big thing, and then she just fucking like passes out, and then they've got to like scoop her up and like get the fuck out of there.
what I'm thinking is the case is every time that they use their powers, they bring the pathway to the Upside Down more like further open. That might be how it works.
Oh,
Because then you've got the situation where
interesting.
to kill the evil, you're actually you're making it stronger.
Oh, that's good.
Which is I'm thinking where they're going.
That's
So-
interesting.
So then how do you solve it with these people with powers if they're making it worse?
Pop
like,
your own head.
yeah, kill yourself.
That's how you do it.
No, so I'd like to see them explore that a bit more. I really desperately want more of like Max just doing her stuff because I thought she was a really cool character. I'd love Steve to grab another baseball bat and do some more great Steve stuff.
Put some more nails and stuff.
Yeah,
Fuck some shit up.
maybe wear some different jackets. I'm not sure. Haven't
Maybe
really
Billy comes in the mix next season, stops being a bit of a dick. I mean, that's not going to happen.
I wouldn't mind if
yeah.
this was like a sort of a team up situation where this could be kind of fun though, where you've kind of got the older kids. You've got like Jonathan, Nancy, and Billy, and maybe they're kind of the rough and tumble like exterminator types, and then you've got the kids who are sort of banging about doing their stuff, and maybe Hopper's like kind of the leader of the. I just like the idea that they've formed this weird like team.
You've been watching too, okay? And this speaks to like what's happening in media right now. There's too much superhero shit going on.
It's everywhere.
Because you're forming a superhero team.
I'm avenging together to solve
You
this
really
problem.
are, yeah.
No, I just I don't know. Yeah, it's the next
Jesus.
trailer will be come together. We'll play in the background.
Yeah.
And then halfway through it'll change.
Why do they all have fucking leotards now?
Why are they wearing masks? Why is the immigrant song playing? But no, it's just I would love to see a bit more of that. That's all. I just really love the dynamics they've created. They've got these 3D characters, and I want them to be thrown at more problems and to see some more interesting outcomes. I think the worst thing they could do is have this smoke creature take over the world and then kind of remove.
Well, that's its whole get up.
Well, only insofar as they could do a season where it's the world's ending and they have to like survive in like a ragtag apocalypse type thing. I much prefer also dealing with real problems at the same time. I think that's where this show finds its like balance and its feet is in the high school problems conflicting with, you know.
So you don't want it to expand outside of
I mean they
where it
could
is right now.
they could go like scope wise bigger than Hawkins, but I just think as far as like removing any of the real world problems, like, you know, Hopper trying to be a dad and being real bad at it a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, keeping it grounded.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
My biggest fear is they go, okay, well, all that stuff doesn't matter anymore because Smoke Monster's taken over.
Right.
Like, I
some
still-
big crack opens up in the ground in a building and the city starts falling in.
Yeah.
And they go, yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I
I get what you mean.
I still want Hopper to, like, eat shitty dinner and drink shitty beer and be a shitty dad. I still want
Right.
Steve to, like, kind of be a good guy, but also kind of a douche sometimes. Like, I still want all that.
And
But,
still keep the hair and still keep the jacket.
yeah, mainly the Steve thing. But as always, it's that time of the week. Do you have any recommendations? What have you been checking out? Anything people
Oh,
should be
what have I been chowing down on
grabbing?
recently?
Yeah. What have you been stuffing in that gullet of yours?
I mean, just
Media gullet.
man, just streaming a lot.
Yep.
Podcasting with this dickhead.
That's rude. That's rude, but sure.
TBA to be announced.
To be announced. We're cooking on it. It's working.
Things to recommend.
Yeah.
I mean,
anything that.
The Perennial
enjoy.
Seller
Yeah.
by Ryan Holiday is a
Mhm.
book I'm reading at the moment.
Yep.
If you're an artist
Mhm.
who is all about making really good stuff and also kind of like how to sell it,
Right.
you know,
that's like
art with purpose.
Because that's
basically.
9/10 of what art has to be now.
Yeah,
Because you can't just do it and make money anymore. You have to you have to whole package.
yeah, and you kind of have to think of like, who is this for? It touches on a lot of stuff like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
instead of just mindlessly and selfishly creating things.
If
with
you
no audience.
if you listen to this show, you're probably in the demographic of people that tend to be interested in that sort of thing because the show is called fucking Art for Artists.
yeah,
It's you know, that's one of the things we talk about a lot is like how do you make art that has a reason instead of just doing it.
so that's good. That's worth a read.
Excellent. I think I'm trying to think like I normally write down my recommendations, but I've been so fucking busy this week. I've been playing Assassin's Creed Origins and loving it. The best part of that game is just walking around Egypt. It's such a good looking game. Like it's so beautiful. And then you get to do a lot of very good murder. So it's very good.
Nice.
It's just The Witcher 3 but with sand and sandals, and that's a very good thing. I fucking love that video game. The other thing that I've been doing is I'm watching some live stream. Colby House is live streaming Wolfenstein 2, the new one, and that's been a real treat because that game, watching him play that game is like a delight because he really likes like German stuff, and watching him kill Nazis is fucking delightful.
Nice.
That's a very great video game as well. Which
I've also, I would recommend 2 streamers, Man vs. Game and Wet for Jesus.
Which, by the way, we've talked about this on stream before. Wet for Jesus is maybe the greatest handle there's ever been. Willing to say
it's
it?
good stuff.
It's
He's the
pretty
singer of, I don't know if you've heard of the band Closure in Moscow, but he's the lead singer for that band. And he also streams.
There you go. Now, Ben normally does the bit of the show where he tells the audience where people can find us.
Facebook.
You know how it goes, do you? You've watched the show at least once. Okay. Facebook is DCM Works Social.
Twitter.
At DCM_works.
YouTube.
YouTube.com/DCMworks. And also, for those of you not in the know, those of you who are audio listeners, James and I have a series that's just gotten started called Hat Boys, where we delve into the psychotropic depths of Mario Odyssey and see what we can become.
Yeah. Shit is buck wild.
It's a journey.
It's Stargate meets what would you cross it with?
I would say Stargate meets Mario 64 if I had to pick.
And also meets hauntings. Every hat's haunted. Spoiler.
Every hat's a ghost hat. It's very good and very fun, and I'm having a lot of fun editing those, so make sure that if you do want to see that, it's just on the YouTube channel. Our Patreon closing date for the free t-shirts is closed. It's over. You missed it, you idiot.
Now where are you? Cold, naked.
Yeah, got nothing on your top half, do ya? The instructions are going up next week. There was a snafu with how I'd set it up, so I have to go back and change some things. So if you are a patron who's pledging more than $6 a month, you will get the instructions next week sent to your Patreon account, like in a message. So make sure you check that. And then you just pick the shirt. There's a process you go through, and then that'll come sometime in the next month. They've said before Christmas, but we'll see what happens. So make sure you do that. There's 2 designs up. If you want to see those and you're not a Patreon, but you're like, dang it, I wish I was, you can go to patreon.com/DCMworks. The public post is there. You can see those sweet teas that you've missed out on. So make sure if you do want those, you jump on that pledge and you'll get access.
Are you doing more shirts? For is there going to be another Patreon thing? Is it each month or when is it?
I'm thinking each 6 months, just because of the time it takes to figure out the designs and stuff. But yeah, there'll be more rounds.
You missed it. You missed Christmas this year. You could have been rocking a DCM shirt, but you missed it.
Speaking of which, we've also got the Art for Artists pillow coming out soon with the new logo, which will be soon. But for now, you can go and grab this bad boy, this bad Mama Jamma pillow, the DCMworks pillow, at redbubble.com/people/DCMworks. It's very nice and very good.
Comfortable, soft, smooth, like butter.
And also delightful in the salmon color. If you're gonna buy, it's just, I love the pink. So make sure you pick that up.
I said it before, I'll say it again.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do any color, why not salmon?
Why not? It's actually, it's actually light coral, if you must know, according to HTML.
Well, you fucked me then.
Yeah.
I already said it was salmon.
Sorry.
It's not light coral, it's salmon.
So it is. Well, okay. That's really not up to you to decide. But as always, I'm at DCM I Hate Pie.
I'm at My Pixel Persona.
And Ben and I, maybe James, maybe not. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye. Bye now. See you later.
Still going, huh? It was probably a song that reminded me of it, or I'd done an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Writing is definitely an isolating thing.
From an outside perspective, that's weird as fuck.
It makes us look really mental.
But that is because of what it kind of said about art.
I had fun in bits. There were fun bits.
We went and bought a value pack of straps.
Oh my god, we did. There's a big lesson here to learn about storytelling.